You're very welcome, Minister, to the House this afternoon, and I would like, I suppose, at the outset, to congratulate you on the work you have done. There has been many good announcements, but I suppose that the old adage of the proof of the pudding will be in the eating springs to mind. I know perhaps that I don't know whether you'll be here perhaps to reap your harvest, as maybe you might be in the process of filling in an application form for another job very shortly. And indeed, if you do, I wish you well in that regard. First of all, Minister, I would like to touch on a number of subjects, the first one being DEIS, and you mentioned it there in your contribution as well. It's something that I know from a Fianna Fáil perspective we very much welcome its reintroduction, and indeed something that we have pushed for. It was initially introduced by Fianna Fáil a number of years back, I think 2006, and it's definitely played a very key role in tackling disadvantage and indeed social inclusion. Fianna Fáil, being the initiator of this programme, if you like, sought restoration and enhanced support for vital educational disadvantage programmes in our community to facilitate the minority government, and we're delighted to see that this commitment has been moved on and committed to by yourself. We know that schools serving disadvantaged populations are allocated additional funding under DEIS are less likely to receive voluntary contributions from parents and indeed families who have fewer economic, cultural and social resources than those in the non-DEIS schools. However, Minister, I do feel that maybe more transparency is required in this particular area, as it seems to be a lot of confusion there. I know the data that the Department uses comes from the CSO, but what I'm hearing is that it seems to be kind of shrouded in secrecy, with little information given out to schools as to what criteria has been used. The document, as issued by the Department, doesn't give any detail on the methodology used, or indeed an explanation as to why some schools are successful and others are not. There's also no kind of criteria whereby a school who wishes to appeal the decision can do so. And I think that's something that needs to be considered, Minister. And I would ask you that if you have any intention, which I sincerely hope you do, of introducing an appeal system for DEIS, and when would that appeal system, if it is introduced, likely to be in vogue? Secondly, Minister, to move on then to the new model that you refer to for special education. Again, I welcome your initiative in that regard. As you know, there was cuts of up to 15% in resource hours for children with special needs that have yet to be redressed. However, the new model seems to be, again, some confusion surrounding that particular area as well. And a lot of people in the educational sector are not clear on exactly what it means for schools and their pupils. No change for 2 years, they were told, no assets to assuage their fears. However, I have been contacted by a number of school principals who at the time of year would normally be making applications to the NCSE for resource hours for children with various diagnoses such as autism and speech and language disorders. This year, as you probably know, there is no application form on the NCSE website, and they're being told if they send in an application, it will then be returned. One principal I spoke to recently had a conversation with a special needs organiser who she informed him of a child with a diagnosis that just had arrived in the school. She also advised the organiser that she expected a few more pupils in September. The special needs organiser promptly told her that there was no need to apply, just include them right away. That sounded good, okay, until such time as he dropped the bombshell that there would be no new extra hours for these children. They would have to be accommodated within the existing school bank of resources, such as allocated to children already in the school. And this is where a bit of a problem arises, Minister, in that the same hours will have to be spread along more children, and one would deduce from that that some children are going to lose out. So perhaps that's something you might look at. Also, top of this, principals are of the opinion that in 2 years' time, the level of special needs in many schools could increase by perhaps, some say, a third or a half from what it is currently at the moment. And there's a feeling out there that the new model that has been touted is a move to a more equitable system, and that may very well be the case. However, an equitable system means less all round for the children involved. I wonder, Minister, can you relieve those fears that people have in relation to that? No new child will say that requires special needs will have less hours, or no school rather will have less hours in that regard. The other issue is, of course, the school admission policy and the baptism barrier. I know the Educational Committee and our colleagues here on it are doing some work in that regard. I don't know how far we are, Minister, in arriving at a conclusion to this particular issue. Fortunately, in the part of the world I come from, and dare I suggest most of rural Ireland, thankfully this is not a problem. But in schools in this city and indeed elsewhere, it is a problem, and we look forward to a solution being put forward by yourself in relation to that. I know that our Educational Committee are receiving presentations in that regard at the moment, but I would look forward to your thoughts in relation to that. The other issue is the National Education Psychological Service, the NEPS, plays an important role in supporting schools and children to help in trying circumstances. The Action Plan for Education, which was announced there just last year, had promised hiring 65 educational psychologists in the first quarter of this year. Unfortunately, to date, this hasn't happened, and indeed the Action Plan that was announced there some time ago talked about hiring 10 additional psychologists in the second quarter of 2017. Unfortunately, none, to the best of my knowledge, have been recruited to date. As you would know, apparently now there are some 199 schools catering for 34,575 pupils that do not have access to a psychological service as things stand currently. Many schools do not have an assigned educational psychologist, are severely disadvantaged, as I'm sure you can imagine. Teachers are not qualified to diagnose. They need assessments and a recommendation from NEPS in order that they can put their programmes in place. So I'm sure, Minister, it's an issue that I look forward to your comments on. Another issue I raised in the Chamber here some time ago on a number of occasions is the lack of substitute teachers. We have a severe problem there at the moment in that regard, and it's also noted that some schools may have no choice but to close because of this particular issue. And I wonder, Minister, have you any plans to address this? Unfortunately, most of our teachers now are moving abroad to where they're being offered very attractive packages in Dubai and other exotic locations such as that. And that's something we're competing with, and it's a serious problem in the schools, and it's something that we need to address. Briefly, last Cahir, thank you for your latitude. The other issue, of course, is the ASTI ongoing strike, Minister, and I know some pupils there are very concerned that those taking English are going to be dropped 10%. I think that's very unfair, and I think sure you'd acknowledge that yourself. And I wonder, have you any plans to address that particular issue so those students who would be, I'd imagine, stressed enough with exams taking place without having to worry about that. And finally, the issue of Brexit, and I'm sorry, Glasgow here, this is my last comments. The whole issue of Brexit, Minister, as you know, creates many problems for this country, and it covers every department. But particularly education, I'm concerned perhaps of what effect this will have on us ultimately. I wonder what plans do the department have currently in relation to Brexit, and perhaps you might give us a brief outline of those. And finally, what areas do you see as threats to the educational system, and what opportunities might exist as well?
Thank you, Senator.